This is the story of a family that looked perfect from the outside, a hard-working mother, two beautiful daughters, and a quiet, dependable father. But on August 13, 2018, when 15 weeks pregnant Shanann Watts returned home from a business trip to Arizona, exhausted and hoping for rest, everything changed. Within hours, she and her two little girls vanished, and the man they loved the most was hiding a secret that would shock the entire country. To understand how it came to this, we need to go back to who Shanann was, how she met Chris, and how their seemingly happy life slowly started falling apart behind closed doors. Shanann Rzucek was born on January 10, 1984, in New Jersey, and grew up in Pinehurst, North Carolina. She was raised in a close, loving family and was known for being bright, driven, and full of heart. Even after being diagnosed with lupus, a serious autoimmune illness that causes chronic pain and fatigue, Shanann never let it define her. She pushed through the pain with determination and stayed focused on building a good life for herself and those around her. Meanwhile, Chris Watts lived a much quieter life. Chris Lee Watts was born on May 16, 1985 in Spring Lake near Fayetteville, North Carolina, the second child of his parents. Chris grew up quiet and reserved, preferring cars and engines over schoolyard chatter. He attended Pine Forest High School, where he stood out not just for his shy nature, but for his talents. He competed in automotive competitions, earned a scholarship to the NASCAR Technical Institute, and even won a place on the school's team, impressing teachers with his photographic memory for auto mechanics. As an 18-year-old, he moved to Mooresville to train at the technical school, supporting himself with a part-time job at a local Ford dealership. After graduation around 2003, he worked in car repair and settled into a quiet, predictable routine. But everything changed one day in 2010, while casually scrolling through Facebook. Chris Watts came across a woman named Shanann Rzucek and sent her a friend request. Shanann was 26 at the time and dealing with serious health issues. She wasn't really looking to date, but something about Chris's quiet, gentle presence made her say yes. They met for lunch soon after, and Shanann later told her friends he felt safe. Chris was calm, kind, and never rushed her. Over time, their connection grew stronger. In one of her later videos, Shanann said, "He was the best thing that ever happened to me." What began as a simple online connection soon turned into something much deeper, one that neither of them saw coming. As the months turned into years, their bond only grew stronger. On November 3, 2012, Shanann and Chris got married in a small chapel in Charlotte, North Carolina. Shanann wore a lace gown, and Chris teared up during his vows. It wasn't a fancy wedding, but it was full of love. In early 2013, they moved to Frederick, Colorado, looking for a fresh start and a slower pace of life. They bought a spacious 5-bedroom house at 2825 Saratoga Trail in a quiet suburban neighborhood called Saratoga Springs. The nearly $400,000 home symbolized the life they hoped to build together, a real step toward their American dream. Chris found steady work as a field operator at Anadarko Petroleum, handling oil field equipment, while Shanann focused on sales and eventually joined Thrive, a health and wellness company. Despite battling lupus, Shanann poured her energy into her work and became one of the company's top sales representatives. She also became highly active on social media, sharing videos about the products, her daughters, and family life. From the outside, they looked like a happy young couple building their future. But over time, the cracks in their perfect image slowly started to show. Their family grew with the arrival of their first daughter, Bella, in late 2013. Bella was quiet and sweet, deeply connected to her mother. Shanann loved sharing moments of Bella singing or dancing, capturing the small joys of motherhood. 2 years later, on July 17, 2015, their second daughter, Celeste, nicknamed Cece, was born. Full of energy and mischief, Cece kept the household lively, but her serious food allergies added extra stress, but Shanann managed it all. From the outside, their life looked picture perfect, full of happy family photos, celebrations, and loving messages. Shanann often spoke warmly of Chris, calling him the best thing that ever happened to her. But beneath that smiling surface, the pressures were mounting. Medical bills from Shanann's illness, along with credit card debt and unpaid fees, strained their finances. By 2015, they faced the hard reality of bankruptcy, owing over $400,000 in debts, including their mortgage and student loans. Though no one outside could see it, the weight of these struggles was quietly wearing on the family. As time went on, things started to change. Chris became distant. He lost weight, started working out, and seemed emotionally cold. Shanann noticed and grew worried. She told friends that something didn't feel right. In June 2018, Shanann found out she was pregnant again. She was happy and told Chris in a video, "I guess when you want it, it happens." Chris hugged her, but his face looked tense. He didn't seem excited. That summer, Shanann took the kids to North Carolina for a few weeks. She hoped the time apart would make Chris miss them. But instead, while she was gone, Chris started an affair with a co-worker, 30-year-old Nicole Kessinger. Shanann, on the other hand, was struggling. She sent painful messages to friends. One read, "He won't touch me. Says we're not compatible after 8 years." On August 8th, she finally confronted Chris. "You don't fall out of love in 5 weeks. Why didn't you just tell me you were done?" The very next day, while Shanann was away on a work trip to Arizona, Chris took Nicole to a Rockies baseball game. Shanann had announced her pregnancy in June, wearing a shirt that read, "Oops, we did it again," and had planned a gender reveal for August 19th. But behind the smiles, their relationship was breaking apart. On August 13th, just after midnight, Shanann returned home from her trip. Her friend, Nicole Atkinson, dropped her off and later said Chris seemed unusually distant and cold. That was the last time anyone saw her alive. Later that morning, Shanann missed a doctor's appointment. Concerned, Nicole tried calling and texting but got no response. By noon, she went to Shanann's house, and when no one answered the door, she called the police for a welfare check. When officers arrived for the welfare check, Chris came outside to meet them and allowed them to search the house. Inside, they found Shanann's phone, purse, and car, all untouched. The girls' medications and car seats were still there too, but Shanann, Bella, and Cece were nowhere to be found. Body cam footage showed Chris acting strangely, nervous and fidgety. A neighbor then shared surveillance video from 5:27 a.m. that showed Chris backing his truck into the driveway, something he didn't usually do. He had positioned it in a way that blocked the camera's view of what he was loading. Quietly, the neighbor told police, "He's not acting right." At first, Chris claimed Shanann had taken the kids to a friend's house, but his story didn't add up. After failing a polygraph test, he gave a partial confession, saying Shanann had killed the girls and he had killed her in a rage. Detectives pressed further, and Chris finally revealed the truth. On August 13th, 2018, after an argument, Chris strangled Shanann in their bed while she was asleep. Their unborn son, 15-week-old Nico, died with her. As he prepared to move Shanann's body, 4-year-old Bella walked in and softly asked, "What's wrong with Mommy?" Chris then loaded Shanann's body into his truck and drove, with Bella and Cece still alive, 45 miles to an Anadarko oil site called Survey 319, where he worked as a field operator. At the oil site, Chris smothered Cece in the back seat. Then Bella, realizing something was terribly wrong, pleaded, "Daddy, no!" before he killed her too. He placed both girls' bodies in separate crude oil tanks and buried Shanann in a shallow grave nearby. Investigators later found Bella's fingernail marks on the inside of one of the tank lids. As police dug deeper into Chris's life, they uncovered a secret that made the tragedy even more horrifying. After his arrest, news of his affair with a woman named Nicole Kessinger became public. Nicole, a co-worker at Anadarko Petroleum, told investigators she had been dating Chris during the summer of 2018. He told her he was in the process of separating from Shanann. Nicole said she had no idea his wife was pregnant, or even missing, until she saw it on the news. Shocked by the truth, Nicole went to the police on her own.
Why would you wipe out your family to be with me?
She handed over her phone and fully cooperated with the investigation.
Did you ever say anything to him about
Never.
anything about his kids being a problem? Anything about his wife being a problem?
Never. This shocked me just as much as I think it shocked the rest of the world.
Her internet search history revealed disturbing questions like, can cops trace text messages? And did people hate Amber Frey? After public backlash, Nicole changed her name and withdrew completely from public life. She has not spoken publicly since. On November 6, 2018, Chris Watts pleaded guilty to 5 counts of murder, including the unlawful termination of a pregnancy in order to avoid the death penalty, a request Shanann's family supported. During sentencing, Shanann's father, Frank Rzucek, looked directly at Chris and said, "You took them out like trash." The judge called it one of the most inhumane and brutal crimes he had ever seen. Chris was sentenced to 5 life terms without the possibility of parole, plus 84 additional years. The public was horrified. Chris, who once smiled in family photos, had murdered his wife and daughters to pursue an affair and escape financial pressure. Shanann's social media, once filled with images of a happy life, took on new meaning as people began to notice subtle signs of emotional abuse and control. In 2020, Netflix's American Murder, The Family Next Door, brought global attention to the case, using Shanann's own posts, texts, and videos to show how the perfect online life masked a terrible reality. Shanann's family later won a wrongful death lawsuit against Chris, though he had no assets. Her parents continue to honor her memory and advocate for domestic violence awareness, asking the world to remember Shanann, Bella, Cece, and the unborn son they had named Nico. Chris Watts now lives in solitary confinement at Dodge Correctional Institution in Wisconsin, isolated 23 hours a day for his own safety. Nicole Kessinger, the woman he had an affair with, changed her name and disappeared from public view. This case shook the world. It showed how darkness can hide behind smiles and how even those closest to us can harbor devastating secrets. But it also united people to support victims, speak up, and recognize the warning signs of abuse. The Watts family murders are a painful reminder that behind every happy photo, there might be something far more serious we don't see. The Watts family murders remind us of one simple truth. Behind every post, every photo, and every smile, there might be more than meets the eye. The Watts case shook us all, not just because of what happened, but because of who it happened to. A family that seemed happy, a husband who seemed loving. It showed us that appearances can lie. That's why it's so important to raise awareness about domestic violence, emotional abuse, and the quiet signs people often miss. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And tap the bell icon so you don't miss more true stories like this one.